we are, episode 9 of the 9-part docuseries called Money Revealed. So thrilled to have taken this journey with you. Just know that as much as we included amazing information and wisdom in this 9-part docuseries, I also am aware of what didn't make it into the core 9 episodes. There's some additional information that has great wisdom attached to it that you would want to know about. And we've included that in the bonuses. We couldn't put everything in. You could already see how long these episodes are. So there's additional information that you can own and enjoy and benefit from when you get one of the packages. So take a look at what we have to offer. Look at the bonuses that are in there. And time is running out to get our deep discount during this free viewing period. So now's the time to make your decision to jump in to invest in Money Revealed. Now, let me share with you what we have in episode 9. I'm excited to take you behind the curtain with a discussion I have with one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Jason Fladlien. Jason has literally broken records with some of the initiatives that he's launched in the entrepreneurial world. And he's going to tell you how you can set up your own Amazon store and become a millionaire doing so. He's taught many how to do this, and from an entrepreneurial perspective, whether you ever set up an Amazon store or not, you're going to learn something here that's going to help you in your life. Jason, thanks for taking the time to be here. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Jason Fladlien, and I am a digital marketer, which really doesn't mean anything. I just figure out how to reach people, online groups, large markets, figure out what they need solved, solve it for them in a way that they get a good deal. If they pay money to have it solved, I get a lot of money. They get happy, I get happy, and we all win at the end of the day. So we typically try to help businesses become better businesses.
Let's go back a little bit. Nobody goes to grade school and says, I'm going to be a digital marketer when I grow up. How did this evolve? How did you end up in this career?
So it's interesting because my dad was a teacher at a high school, and he taught like basic, I think they call it processing back then or something like that. So he was one of the only people that knew how to use a computer in the 80s. And so when I was like 80, it was like 86, I was about 3 years old, and he had a little Apple II computer. Not that we could afford it because we were so broke it wasn't even funny, but because he had a position at the school, we got to loan one of these things out. So I was like 3 years old, and I was running these prompt commands to boot up the hard drive and to let this thing run. This was before there was a mouse, before there was a graphic interface. It was really a fascinating time, but as a 3-year-old, you got to imagine, my brain was soaking it up like a sponge, like a language, like kids learn languages. So I was immersed in technology so far in advance of everybody else from the day I was born almost. So when the internet got big in '97, when I started learning how to build websites. I was 14 years old, and so the tech was fascinating to me. But there's a lot of good technical people out there, and very few of them make millions of dollars. The psychology was the missing link. So when I understood the technology and then learned the psychology, that's when things took off.
So tell me about that transition. What caused you to learn about psychology?
I like to do music, create music, make music, and the internet, of course, could do that. And even before the internet, just the technology to run a studio digitally, right? And I was rapping when I was 6 years old, 7, 8 years old, performing shows in front of people and things like that. I was always a natural performer. And I started to get really into the music business. And what really got me there was I became a monk when I was like 21 years old. I was a Hare Krishna monk. And I became this monk, and from the internet, by the way, because I was reading this thing online in the Bhagavad Gita, and it hooked me in. I tried it out, I got sucked in there, and that gave me clarity. And I'm like, I'm going to make this music a full-time thing. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go big with it. So I just was a monk and I was a musician. That's all I did. And I pushed real hard on the music to try to get it out there, and failed miserably. So spent all my money, spent all my time, I had nothing to show for it. But what got me into the marketing aspect of the psychology, if you will, was how do I sell my music? How do I get people to consume my music? How do I make a living with the music? How do I fill up my shows? How do I, build a brand? I didn't know it was a brand back then, but those types of things. And I just got so frustrated that I tried to learn everything I could about getting people to want to buy things. And what I learned in music is it's entertainment. It's very hard to guess what is going to be entertaining or not and what people will pay for it. But then the psychology of what about problems? If people are having really some massive problems, and I can use information and education that seemed to me to be a lot easier and just as lucrative. So I got so fascinated by the psychology of why people decide to buy things. And then when you marry that with the technology, I could go from 0 to 1 million real quick because I could reach a lot of people online, and there was no technical hurdle that would stop me. Nowadays in 2019, they figured all that stuff out. So now it's like, people can post on Facebook and they don't even know how to spell Facebook anymore. But when I started, you had to write HTML if you ever wanted to put a message on the internet. So it's funny what we take for granted nowadays, but because I could get over the hurdles way back in the day, I was essentially a pioneer in the field of digital marketing.
Tell us about some of your successes and failures starting there. What did you do?
So I tried a lot of things. I tried to market the music, then I tried to sell information around the music. That didn't work. But what happened was, this is about 2007, Google was getting so big, and there was this site called Easing Articles where you would write an article, post it on Easing Articles, and then at the end you could put a little bio, say, hey, come to my website if you want more information. And for whatever reason, Google had a love affair with Easing Articles. You'd write a 400-word article, and you might get 500, 600, 700 people, 1,000, 2,000 people to read it. And all these people online wanted to promote their business with articles, but nobody wants to write articles because it's tedious, it's monotonous, it's food for the search engines. And so they would contract out the article writing. And that's where I hit my first big win, is I started writing articles for other people, other businesses. Under their name, I was a ghostwriter. And I could write pretty fast, and I developed the system. So I was making about $40 an hour writing for other people. And then I thought, man, people probably want to know how I'm writing these articles, because everybody wants to use article marketing. Back then in their business, it was an easy way. It didn't cost any money up front. It was reliable, and it worked really well. And so I taught people my system for writing articles. And I made $10,000 selling that course in the first 2 weeks I put it out there on a forum, which I don't even think those exist anymore, right? And I thought, I like this idea. Let me find a problem, solve it, document a system on it, turn around, sell the solution cheap. And I could get rich doing that. And that's essentially where I spent the next 3 years. And that's where I'd pick one single thing to learn, master, and then create a system. And that's how I'd sell it. It was a really simple model, because if I could just find out a faster way to do something, people would pay for that speed. So I could take somebody's article writing time down and cut it in half, basically, the first time I trained them, in a little ebook, and they were really happy for that. So they'd pay $5, $10, no problem. And I thought, what else can I do that with? And so I spent 3 years just mastering little skills like that, and then documenting them and turning around and selling them.
During that 3-year period, what else did you do?
So the biggest thing that I did that really catapulted me to the next level was membership sites. So everybody wanted to create this thing where you pay them, and then it's like Netflix nowadays we take for granted. It's like, I pay you every single month, or like Amazon Prime is a membership, and there are other memberships like that. Back then, it was very hard to create a membership site on the internet, but people like the concept of, if I can just sell them once and then they pay until they die or cancel, that seems like a better model. So everybody was hot on membership sites, but the technology, again, was super complicated, super expensive, and it still didn't work. So you paid a lot of money and you got frustrated and you couldn't solve it. So I scoured for a solution of how could somebody get it up and running in less than a half an hour. And I found out a way to do it in like less than 6 minutes, to set up the full infrastructure of how to run a membership site and put it in place. So no matter what you were selling, teaching, servicing, you now had a fully functional membership site for free. And so I sold a little book for $17 on how to do that. And it was the hottest thing at the time, because everybody wanted to know how to do that. And I was the only one that had that answer. And that really turned me on. Oh man, there's power in just finding a simple solution. And then you start stacking these, because now I know this about membership sites, and I know this about article writing, and I know this about how to create ebooks, and I know this about, like when Facebook first came on the scene. And they opened it up for business pages. We learned some of the first strategies for business pages, and then documented them and taught them, because I had another employee. I hired my first employee, and then created a company in 2011 with a business partner of mine. And then we just started developing software, because if we could do this for information, what could we do with software? And we just kept trading all the way up until we really stumbled upon Amazon in 2013. And we taught people how to sell on Amazon, physical products. And then it was over, dude. It was just... yeah, it was a whole different experience.